Welcome to the Focus on Why podcast. I'm Amy Rowlandson and I ask my guests one simple question. Why? Focusing on the importance of why, I share with you the relatable, uplifting and inspiring conversations I have with people from all walks of life. This podcast will encourage you to focus on your why to enable and empower you to achieve the success you desire. Have a purpose, have a plan, focus on why. Before we start, I would like to draw your attention to what I can offer you as a master coach. I can help you to focus on your why with clarity, uniting your passion with your purpose with a plan to create the life you truly desire. Book a free 20-minute coaching call right now via calendly.com/Amy Rowlandson/call, and we can take it from there. Today on Focus on Why, I am joined by Andrew Douglas. Andrew, welcome.
Thank you so much for having me. I'm so glad. It's been months in making. You're so popular that it took me how many months has it been? Like, I don't know, 2 or 3 months. And
I think it might be a bit longer. I think it was April that we spoke last. So apologies for that, but all good. You're here now.
Do I have some updates for you then? Holy cow. That long.
Tell me, where are you calling from? Because it looks unbelievable behind you.
Yeah. So I live in Costa Rica. I imagine we're going to go into my story, but basically, almost 2 years ago, we sold everything after I left the fire service. And, I took a 60% pay cut to leave when I left. And so we decided, let's go to Costa Rica. We like Latin America. Unfortunately, I'm now going through a divorce, but I'm working through that. And I'm going to be living here in the time being, just because I literally, what's really sad is that I can't afford to live in my own country anymore. Like, literally cannot afford to live in my own country. And so going back to the United States is going to be, even though my wife or soon to be ex-wife and my kids went back, it's hard for me to follow financially right now until, I can actually start paying myself with the business, or if I'm trying to find another job right now to supplement, so I can get closer to my family. But I would love to stay here if I could. It's beautiful.
Yeah. I mean, it is one of the blue zones in the world. So one of the very few blue zones in the world. So there's something very special about Costa Rica itself.
Yeah. If anybody wants to come visit, please come visit us. I live in a town called Atenas. I don't know if you've ever been there. Have you heard of it?
No.
Beautiful. It's a country, authentic Costa Rican mountain town. And some of the most amazing people in the world I've ever met have been here. And so, no, it's been a great, I'm grateful for the opportunity, and we'll see where life leads me. But right now I got to focus on today and, making sure I'm healthy and my kids are happy and the company's succeeding. So, yeah.
So let's start with that. What is it you are focusing on right now, Andrew?
So I think it's important for your audience to kind of reflect with this, because, I was diagnosed with PTSD after a suicide attempt in 2019, and that was it's been a roller coaster, right, since then. And my biggest mistake, and this is what I want to tell your audience, my biggest mistake when I left the fire service was that I say I left for myself, but I really didn't. I left for my family, and I put all my focus in my family and forgot about myself. Right. Granted, my wife wasn't working during all this too, so we couldn't afford much, and so I couldn't personally afford to see a therapist anymore. I got cut off from my insurance, so I had to basically pick between paying out of pocket for medicine or a therapist, and so I picked the medicine, and So since all this has gone down in my life, I've totally implemented what's called an emergency action plan that I got from an inpatient treatment facility I went to in 2020. And that has changed my life and brought me stability, even to the point where my ex-wife accused me of faking being in crisis because I'm not recovered, right? But what I'm telling you is that I implemented my plan, and that started by doing little things every day, getting one little win. So today my one little win is going to be to go swim in the pool. I haven't swam in the pool for a long time, but today I've made that my one thing I'm going to do and get a win today. But I started waking up at 5 a.m. every day. I get up, I make my bed. I make sure I have a clean space. I make sure I take a shower. I then go and meditate. I eat a healthy breakfast. I exercise. Obviously with the company, we'll get into that, but I mean, I'm working nonstop with that right now too. So how do I manage taking care of myself, number one, and at the same time have bandwidth to be able to run a successful company? And so just by taking those little steps of self-care have really pushed me forward. I'm also in therapy with 2 different therapists twice a week. Like, this is all things I implemented the second it happened. And so I got that. And then I'm also doing, lastly, which I'm really excited about, because I don't really have much to lose. And there's a lot of good evidence from special forces, is I'm going to something called an iboga retreat, or ibogaine is the synthesized version of it. It is a psychedelic. It's currently not legal in the United States, but outside of the United States, in places like Mexico, Costa Rica, it is legal because it's plant-based. And it's through a setting of, like each person has an emergency room doctor and nurses with them during this experience. And so that's on October 9th. So coming up. So maybe we'll have another episode and I can talk about my experience, because I'm not really looking forward to it, because what I hear is it's just absolutely the worst experience of your life. But you come out of it. These special forces, U.S. Special Forces members have come out of it, and it's changed their life. So at the end of the day, I'll do whatever it takes to get me healthy, so I can be happy for me and healthy for me and my kids, and then build a company that hopefully will save a life.
So there've been many people on this podcast, Andrew, but not many have packed so much in such a short introduction into the show. My goodness, you really have shared a lot of different things here. And I'm going to ask you what it is that you want to sort of dive deeper in. Normally I pick on something, but what do you feel is relevant for us to pursue in terms of the conversation here?
I could go into my story, and I think our story is very powerful. I like to say that our stories, by telling our stories of struggles openly and vulnerably, not only is that powerful, but it's contagious, right? It takes one person. I have a lot of haters from when I started doing what I'm doing. But the amount of emails I just got an email from ICU nurse out of Australia not too long ago, like saying, hey, I reflect with what you're going through. Like, I've been there. And so that's powerful and keeps me going. So I think a good start, something that has been very effective for me personally and professionally, that I've been trying to focus on through meditation specifically, is, gratitude. Like, having gratitude of every experience in your life, not only in the past, but also right now. And it's so easy. And I just want to say I'm really good at giving advice, but I'm a huge hypocrite, and don't always implement it myself. And at the same time, I think it's important that when we have so much going on in our lives, that we slow down, number one, and that we just have a sense of gratitude for what we have today, and focus on what is your win for today, and not what happened yesterday or what's going to happen in a week or two. Obviously with the divorce I'm going through, it's constantly dynamic. So if I'm constantly worrying about what's going to happen next, it's going to eat me alive. So what I've tried to do lately, and I think for your audience, maybe they can get something from this, is like, how do I keep myself for today? Focus on today. What am I going to do today to make myself better as a person and professional, so that in the time coming forward, we can take action when something comes up, and we can take action with purpose, and we can take action with clarity by taking care of ourselves. So yeah, I think that's a good start. And I don't know where you want to go from that, but I'm happy to dig into. I'm a pretty raw and vulnerable person, because I see the value in vulnerability of how it's impacted my life and the doors it's opened, not only for me personally, but professionally, to become successful.
And what I'd like to ask you is, why do you feel that you've got a lot of haters? What's going on there? What is it you're speaking about that people are disagreeing with?
I don't necessarily. So here's a good example. When I went through crisis, my support network back in the States, not people who've seen me recover or been down here the last 2 years, but everybody that knew the me before is like, I'm not talking to you until you go to inpatient. They're talking with my ex-wife, not with me. Not one person called me and say, hey, Andrew, how you doing? What are you doing to get yourself better? Instead, they say, no, I'm not talking to you until you go to inpatient, right? So those same people all along, I've been like reflecting back on, have not been the most supportive people in my life. And so what I've realized since I've been down in Costa Rica is that community and family are what you make it, right? And I had the powerful support network I have down here and people that truly believe in me, that's another little side story. Like a month or two ago, Jason, one of our investors, he and I had a really open conversation, and he's like, Andrew, I just want you to know, I believe in you. And I like sat with that, and I might cry a little bit during all this, just so you know, I'm a pretty emotional person. But my entire life I'd gone without anybody ever believing in me or believing in myself. And I do believe in myself now. I believe that I can become healthy again. I believe that I can be the best father I can be every day. And I truly, my paramedic instructor, Mike Smith, rest in peace. He's amazing, out of Tacoma, Washington. He said something that's been very impactful for me, and that I'm trying to put into our business. And that he said, Mr. Douglas, he's like, I want you to think that you're dumb enough that you can save everybody, but I want you to be smart enough to know that you can't. And so I'm dumb enough to think that our company is going to save a life with what we're building. And I'm also smart enough to know that I can't do it alone, and that technology alone is not going to solve the mental health crisis that we're facing in America and around the world. And that the only way that we're truly going to solve the problem is to organize stakeholders within the system, because it's a broken system issue. And I think we focus too much on like low-hanging fruit, right? It's really easy to fix the things that are easy to fix. But why don't we get to the root cause of it, organize all the stakeholders, meaning mental health professionals, anybody that's affected, politicians, and let's actually co-create the solution together. Let's focus on the things the values that we have, shared values, that we can actually accomplish this mission together. And so at the end of the day, that's what I'm hoping to do, and be a part of that conversation.
And what I'm hearing here is this understanding that you can't do this alone, and that a collaboration is needed to do this, to go forward. It's your dream, it's your vision, absolutely, but you've now understood, this is where I now have to say, I can't do this anymore on my own. And it's a really powerful thing to recognize that.
Yeah, I mean, I think doing anything alone in life is we're as human beings, we were not meant to be alone. We were meant to be a part of a community. And so, I'm trying to take the approach just with what I can control. And from my idea is that, and this is where we differ from all of our competition within the market space, is that we want to build this sense of community, right? Community is what will help you heal. Our slogan is share, connect, heal. If we share our feelings openly and vulnerably, and we connect with a community of people that support us, we will find peace and health. And so, that's it's a lot to undertake. And at the same time, I feel that we can do this together. And I think it for me, and not to get on a sidebar, I do like to sidebar quite a bit, so I apologize to your audience. But you see the divisiveness that's going on in our world today. And like, for me, like I stand for compassion and well-being for myself and all others. And I wish I could have everybody think that way too, but the reality is they can't. So it's what I can do today to show compassion and love for somebody else who's struggling, to be able to impact their life, and hopefully through my actions that they will have seen the impact it made for them, like people had done for me. And that's how we'll make a big change in this mental health space.
And as with other guests who've come on the show and shared their story, it seems to me that there has been a void, a lack that you are now hoping to fill. So you're providing something that you wish you could have had yourself.
I mean, literally, we're building what I wanted. What everything I experienced when it comes to stigma, isolation, and access to care. Those are the three things that I've experienced that have been very difficult. And I also recognize that, specifically we're in the niche market of first responders right now. We found a new market in pilots. One of our new investors is an emergency room physician that wants to bring it to his physician group. So we're learning that this, what is affecting first responders when it comes to like their livelihood of asking for help and potentially losing their job or being suspended and not making money, is happening all across the world. For pilots, lawyers, anybody with a license potentially can get suspended if they seek mental health care. Or let's say you got a DUI because of your mental health. I'm not saying that you shouldn't be punished for the DUI, you should, but let's look at why did that person get a DUI, right? Let's start. We love to be reactive in America. Our medicine and everything's reactive. Like, let's start being proactive with stuff. And so yeah, no, I'm excited with what we got going, and it's overwhelming to go from idea to revenue in under 6 months, and not have a network of people to help you, and just building that through vulnerability. That's what it's been, of me openly telling my story and saying, hey, I'm crazy and I think that I can save a life. And if you believe in me, follow me, and let's build this together to hopefully save a life. And that's the thing that's really been overwhelming too, is that, here are fire agencies that, they need to spend public tax dollars appropriately and make sure there's value being brought to the taxpayers. And there's like a savings. And the different approach that we've taken versus our competitors is, again, this realization that alone technology and myself is not going to solve this problem. So you have some skin in the game too. Let's work closely together to build out Ciento Connect, which we're doing right now. Thankfully, we just got a big influx of investor funds to be able to build this out in 2 weeks. But the idea is like, how do we connect an individual near crisis or in crisis and get a peer that is trained by their side? Imagine it as a first responder 911, right? We need help too. And we are the worst people to take care of ourselves. And you'll see that in doctors and nurses too. Anybody in the healthcare field does not take care of themselves. So yeah, no, it's been an amazing opportunity and ride along the way so far. And I imagine it's going to continue to get crazier as time goes on. But at the same time, I think we're truly onto something that's going to save somebody's life. And we're taking a different approach than what's already out there through the sense of community. And then another thing we do that's pretty cool, that this is what I wanted, because I've learned how important feelings and emotions are. Not only what they are, because I was so numb before from the things that I've seen that I didn't know anything but anger. But let's start to teach people about their emotions and feelings, right? And so when an individual comes on our platform and expresses anonymously how they feel, we utilize AI technology to detect the underlying feelings and emotions from that post. And there's some proprietary stuff I cannot talk about yet. However, there's nothing out there right now with what we're doing. And it's based on I have a badass team that is amazing, and they truly believe in my long-term vision of the company, which is from a push of a button until you're healthy, we'll be by you the entire time. Because, sorry. Because I never had an advocate when I was struggling. And if I have to experience this pain and go through breaking a marriage because of my PTSD and my actions of not getting help, if I can make it so one person never has to go through what I have, I've done my job. And yeah, no, I'm going to change the world.
I believe you.
Oh, sorry. I don't like crying, but
Well, you just said earlier that you now have, about feelings and emotions, and you only had anger before. You were numb from everything else. The thing about being able to access emotions is that all emotions are useful. They all serve you in the moment with information about what's going on. And people do try and numb emotions. They do try, with lots of different ways of doing that. And, alcohol could be one of those reasons that you mentioned earlier about the DUI. It could be from that perspective that people are trying to numb and push away what's going on.
yeah, we find a lot in the fire service specifically. Alcohol is a huge problem. Huge problem. I personally, when I went through my crisis, I personally quit on the spot drinking, right? Because again, that's part of my emergency action plan. And if you don't have one and you have issues with PTSD or depression and you haven't heard of one, Google it. I imagine there's something out there, but have that in place, right? And that's one of those things to have in place is a checkbox to check. Stop drinking.
Yeah.
Don't drink. So, I mean, I haven't drank in over a month. And it was easy for me because like I saw what I was using alcohol as this numbing agent to avoid the feelings that I didn't want to feel. And so you see that, I mean, it's bad in the fire service. Like everything revolves around drinking. Everything.
Yeah, I'm not going to start preaching about the poison that alcohol is for the body, mind, and spirit, because it really is. And I don't drink either, so I'm a big advocate of removing alcohol from your body. But I'm not going to go into that now. What I do want to do is just pick up on something you said earlier, which was to talk about focusing on today and what we can control. And I guess, alcohol comes into that conversation, but it is understanding what you are able to affect and what you can do, and then also understand what you can't and let go of it.
Well, it's so easier said than done, right? Like, and again, I'm not trying to sit here and be this person to tell people that I'm perfect and that I can control my day-to-day actions. However, what I would say is do meditation. Seriously. I know it's 5 minutes. Like my friend here in Costa Rica, Shalene, he's from Kashmir, India, and is big into yoga and has like a yoga retreat and big into meditation. And he goes, I want you to do this meditation once a day in the morning for 90 days straight. It's only 5 minutes of your time, 3 to 5 minutes of your time. So there's no excuse to not do it. Meditation is the best form of grounding yourself, number one, calming your mind and connecting with yourself to make good, sound decisions and choices, or to keep us in that moment, right? Because like when you're meditating, a lot of people are like, oh, I can't meditate because like all these thoughts come into my head as I'm doing it. And it's like, that's the whole point. That's okay. Right. It's like, okay, this thought of like, oh, I need to do this comes up. Okay. Thanks for being there. But you need to step aside. I need to focus back on myself and in my breath. So if you implement meditation in your daily life and you make it an intent to stay focused on today and not worry about things in the future, you will find success. You're going to fail a lot, and that's okay, right? Failure is how we learn the most. But as long as you're taking the action to continually do it, like that's how you're going to stay grounded in the present moment.
I love that. Absolutely. Meditation's incredible.
Mm-hmm.
Andrew, tell me more about the purpose behind this. The podcast is called Focus on Why. What sits into that space for you when we talk about purpose?
I'm probably going to cry again. Again, one of the most powerful things to me about being a paramedic was the ability to walk into somebody's house, gain their trust without them even knowing me, gaining the trust to even have me go through their wallet to give them some cash or grab something from it, right? Or get something. like the honor that comes with that feeling of somebody believing in you, trusting you, was so powerful for me. And I missed that so much, and I lost my purpose. And honestly, I found that purpose again today, and my team has showed me that. And they've worked their asses off for free, basically, all based on this crazy guy's vision that you can push a button and we can connect you with somebody, and that we can hopefully save your life. And throughout the way, we're going to be there with you until you're healthy again. And they believe in me. And so I've found my purpose again. And it's based on that same feeling that I had when I was a paramedic, of that level of trust. And it's a powerful thing for people to give you, right? Because it is a gift. And so the last thing I ever want to do is jeopardize that trust and gift that I've been given, which is also my now new purpose in life. Sorry. Yeah. No, I'm excited where life's going. It hurts, but again, like I said before, if I have to be the person to go through this pain now so that nobody after me has to go through it, like there's a better way of you don't have to destroy your life. Like PTSD is recoverable. It's not going to be with you. I mean, it's going to be with you the rest of your life, but it's not going to control your life. You need to all going to a psychologist and going to inpatient facilities. All they're doing is giving you tools for you to be in control of your PTSD, not your PTSD in control of you. And so that's what I want to preach, is that there is hope in recovery, and it takes a lot of introspection and a lot of work. It's taken me 5 years to get to where I'm at today. And again, like my ex-wife accused me of faking everything, because within 3 days of coming back into country, my story's pretty crazy. My crisis story. I decided it'd be a great idea to go to El Salvador. I'll leave it at that. And she thinks it's all fake, because she's not done the work on herself. I've grown over the last year, and she hadn't, and had not seen the changes within me, had not reached out to my network, my support network that was helping me in those moments, to see what I was doing. So at the end of the day, we can't rely on anybody else but ourselves. And if you deep down inside believe in what you're doing is the right path, follow it, because those positive doors will continue to open. And I feel that I'm on the right path again, and I'm not perfect, and I'm gonna hit road bumps along the way, and that's okay. But as long as I have that support and community, and I love myself and care for myself, it makes it that much easier to get out of the shit. When you've been working really hard on it, you know what to do. You just got to implement it. That's the hardest part, and which is why I'm a huge advocate of having an emergency action plan on your phone, number one, that you can dig into and say, okay, I need to start listening to this music because I'm depressed. I need to start eating healthy again. I need to quit drinking. I need to exercise. I need to do all these good things for me right now. And you just follow it, because you don't have to think. It's a checkbox. You don't need to think about what to do. You already know what to do. Just start following it.
I recently had a guest on the show back in episode 366. Her name's Dr. Susanna Pecci, and we were talking about psychological trauma. And a lot of people in the personal development space use their experiences or see their experiences as a gift. And we decided that actually it's not a gift, it's just a catalyst. It's a shift in what's happened to us, to then recognize that we can't allow this to happen anymore, which is why we become so purpose driven and so focused. And I'm hearing it with your story here, that it's definitely not a gift. We don't want to wish this on anybody to have had these experiences, but as society is evolving and how it's changed, there are so many people out there who have experiences of a trauma, or some kind of PTSD event that has become overwhelming for people. So what you've created is going to be incredible, and I'm so excited for you. I mean, I can see how passionate you are. I feel like you're just sort of scraping the surface, and as you said, that there's going to be some lot of ripple effects coming off this piece of work that you're doing, and you may never get to hear of any lives that you get to save, but you know that they're going to be some out there.
Well, I mean, it's just like being a paramedic, right? You know, a lot of times when we bring people to the hospital, we don't know what happens afterwards, right? But, you know, a good example I can think of, my partner Jake and I were going to this minor car wreck, right? And so we're lollygagging, getting our stuff, getting there, we show up, and this guy's got a missing leg, like amputated legs, craziness, right? My partner jumped into action and put a tourniquet on this guy's leg and put a second tourniquet on his leg and saved his life, right? I don't know what his outcome is going to be afterwards, but I know that that one thing my partner did, it made an impact on that person's life and that he will live, right? And so it can kind of translate that way, you know, in what you're saying too, right? Is that you might not know the outcome, but deep down inside, you know what you did made an impact. And I think that's what matters most, is that, you know, how can we all make an impact on somebody's life today? Like, just be nice to people. That's what I loved about my old fire department. Our motto was be nice, respond efficiently, and execute flawlessly. And so I brought that to my team. I used to work for West Pierce Fire and Rescue. Give them a shout out. They're a great agency that takes care of people. And so I've brought that motto to our team because it's so easy to just be nice to people. So easy. All you got to do is just sit there with like an open heart and look and just listen and be nice. So I don't know. It just, this world makes me sad sometimes, but all we can do again is through our own actions, prove that there is a better way of doing things in life. And that's what I hope I can be an example for.
And the metaphor there of the tourniquet is taken into your work from a perspective of knowing that you are going to be that immediate ability to respond to where someone is right now and fix it quickly, but then know that the work that from the app and that you're going to be doing is in a longer term. It's hand holding throughout that process, as you say, till they're healthy. And it is very much a case of there is more proactivity instead there, yes, reacting because you're reacting to where they are right now, but there is that proactive nature of people can take control of their own lives.
Well, and I see mental health, and maybe you might see it in a different lens, but I see there's like 3 pillars within the mental health space, right? You have prevention, you have management, and you have crisis. So in my opinion, I think management, everybody does management, right? When you look at all the apps that are out there today, everything is about management, which is great. More resources, great. But nobody's solving a problem because everybody's too afraid of crisis because of the liability piece. And I have nothing to lose, right? I would rather, the definition of insanity is doing the same thing over and over again, expecting a different outcome. Well, that's what we've been doing, right? And nobody's taking a risk on that crisis piece and willing to get potentially sued. But I'd rather get sued trying to save somebody's life than to keep doing the same thing that we've been doing and put out another resource that is not solving the problem. So we want to solve the problem and then also focus a lot on prevention, because prevention is so important. How can we give people tools early on in life or early on in their career as a first responder to be able to mitigate the challenges that you're going to face so that you can live a healthy and happy life and not get to where Andrew's at, where he's crying on a podcast and his wife's divorcing him. And, there's a better way, right? Like I truly deep down, I mean, I can't change the past. Had I been in therapy the whole time, I don't think I would be getting a divorce. But again, it's a broken system in the United States. Here is a individual that sacrificed, and I'm not trying to toot my own horn or play victim here, just so you know, I'm just trying to bring facts. I medically retired because of PTSD. It's clear as day. I've been a part of very major incidences that would mess up anybody. you get support, but then they go, oh no, you're crazy. You're so crazy that we're going to pay you some money, but you're not crazy enough to not, you can still work. So see you later. Like, we'll retrain you. And so then they cut off all your medical benefits. So the last year and a half, I've been without medical benefits, waiting to get retrained. Right. And that's why I've taken everything into my own hands, because if you don't take things into your own hands and you rely on the government, I'm not trying to say talk politics, but I'm just saying as a fact, if you don't take control of your life in your own hands and you rely on the government, you're going to wait a year and a half to get into a retraining program. You're going to lose your purpose. You're going to lose your drive in life. So that's another thing that we want to tackle is as a company is like, okay, let's stop leaving people at home alone, isolated outside of a space. How can we have a space where we can keep these people engaged with each other and continuing to progress in recovery instead of leaving them at home? Is that going to save the taxpayers a lot of money? Yep. But nobody's implemented it yet. So hopefully we can be a part of that change. I like politics. So I used to do it with the union. So I know the right people to talk to. And so I'm going to start pushing some buttons eventually when I got a bandwidth to do it.
Well, I can feel it coming. It's there. It's bubbling to the surface for sure. Andrew, how would people get in contact with you? Share what it is, that the app, how they can get access to that as well.
Yeah. So best way to get a hold of me is probably email. Andrew at Siento, which is SIENTO.io. And again, we picked that name strategically because Jason, my co-founder, is Canadian. He's had to move back to Canada, but we met in Costa Rica. And so Siento means I feel in Spanish. So we felt like that was a good representation of our company. Well, what we want people to do is to be able to feel again. Another way, social media. So I'm fairly active on LinkedIn. I'll send you a link with that. And then we'll be doing a lot of organic social media content. And I'll send you some links to Siento's content generation machine, I guess you could say, which is important in business today, which I hate. I hate social media. It's an unnecessary evil. And so, yeah, I mean, reach out to me if anybody needs somebody to just listen, and I'm happy to be that person. Sorry if I don't have the bandwidth and I say no. And that's an important thing I'm having to learn with. And here's another good thing for your viewers. That was part of my biggest mistake in my life, or one of the biggest failures in my life has been the inability to say no to people. And what I've realized since I've started doing business is the power in no is actually sometimes a bigger yes. And you giving yourself the bandwidth to be able to accomplish the mission you're on by saying no will open up opportunity later for that no to turn into a yes. So yeah.
Well, I think you just titled the podcast there with the power of no. That's a very powerful message.
Sweet. I like it. I didn't mean to do that, but okay, great.
The titles always come out of whatever the guest says at some point, and there's a real sort of key message behind it, and it sort of underlines or underscores for me what it is that we wanted to try and achieve from sharing this message today. And there's been a huge focus on what we can control, on collaboration, on community. Or we've talked about stigma, isolation, and the access to care that you're trying to accomplish here. We've talked about trust and belief and support, and your incredible motto from your old fire station, which of being nice, and responding efficiently and executing flawlessly. Again, the 3 pillars that you're focused on. There's so much here. There is so much to sort of really share with people.
We need another episode. How about this? Your viewers can come watch. So we're starting a podcast for Siento. It's called Share, Connect, Heal, right? Which is kind of our motto too. And that's our motto externally from the company's sake. But we'll continue the conversation on ours, because it's more like this raw, open vulnerability, and then learning other people's perspectives and connecting with that.
Incredible. Absolutely. Sounds fantastic. I'll put all the links into the show notes. So thank you for that. I would like to say thank you from a little humble town in England to the incredible blue zone of Costa Rica. So thank you so much for sharing your focus on why here today, Andrew. Do you have some final words, please, for the listener?
Yeah, well, first off, I just want, seriously, deep down bottom of my heart, thank you for taking a risk on me and believing in me to bring me on. I know I cold called you and reached out to you, so it was a risk, but I hope that your viewers really truly got something from this. That's at the end of the day, it's not about my app, it's not about a business, it's about, you know, my experience. Like, I hope that somebody can take something from it and make a positive impact in their life. But if I could give anybody, any of your viewers, one last piece of advice, is it's number one, have faith in something other than yourself. And I'm not saying God, right? Like, believe in what you want, but you need to have faith in something other than yourself. You need to believe in yourself and forgive yourself to be able to push forward. So the two biggest pieces of advice I've gotten or been told lately that have impacted my life. Number one was from one of our investors, Jason, saying, "I believe in you," which made me believe in myself. Another piece of advice, this is a very powerful one. His name's John Kelly. He does a podcast out of Florida. He's a ex-police officer. And he's kind of a like brash in your face kind of guy, and no bullshit. And he said, you need to forgive yourself. And if you can forgive yourself for your past, for things, hurtful things that you've done to yourself and others, truly forgive yourself, have faith in something else other than yourself, you will find healing. It's a fact.
How has this conversation had an impact on you? What value have you received from tuning in? What are your reflections with actions? Please take a moment to leave me an Apple Podcast or Spotify review sharing how Focus on Why has made a difference to you today. Remember, the conversation doesn't end here. To keep it going, simply connect with me on LinkedIn, Instagram, Facebook or Twitter, or join the Focus on Why Facebook group. All the links are in the show notes. Have a purpose, have a plan, focus on why.